Welcome to Challenging the Norm, his and hers look at life and business, hosted by Paul Snell and Lindsey Burden. This podcast is designed for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and business owners redefining success on their terms. Each episode dives into the topics that truly matter, offering a blend of candid discussion, practical insights, all delivered with a sense of humour. We reality check the latest business trends while offering a fresh perspective that challenges conventional thinking. Paul partners with business leaders, leveraging cutting-edge neuroscience to demonstrate how people-centered strategies drive transformational success. While Lindsey brings her unique approach to business coaching, empowering ambitious business owners to achieve financial abundance and a lifestyle rich in time and joy, all without compromising what matters most. Together, we are challenging the norm. So grab a coffee or your beverage of choice and join us as we explore the art of creating a life and business you love.
Hi, Lindsey. We're going to do a great episode. We normally do great episodes anyway, but we're going to do a great one today. Our legendary preamble has been in place once again. And we're going to start with a really good topic, and you're going to give it the kickoff for us. So before we do that, how's things?
Really good. Although the weather, and we're British, we have to talk about the weather. Oh my goodness, it is coming down in buckets today. It's not good because I'm trying to get a new front door. I needed some building work. Guys couldn't come out today, and no bricklaying today, so it's a bit sad. But I am otherwise really good. A couple of things have happened recently that have made me want to embrace life a little more, shall we say, which is why I've got a question for you to get us started. With everything that you know now, if I could take you back to your 20s...
Wow, that's a time.
I know, let's go back there. If I could take you back to your 20s, or maybe actually, I think, Paul, the better question is, with everything you know today, if you were 20 right now, would you take the same journey in relation to your business? Would you make the same decisions? Would you start in the same way?
The honest answer would be yes, I would definitely start. From what I know now, I would definitely start. I think it's a big shift, and for lots of reasons that we've probably talked about a lot in previous episodes. But let's just get back to that question. I would definitely have done things differently. And lots of people go, no, I'd have done the same thing. If I could go back and do it all again, I'd done the same thing. I would definitely do it, but I would do it differently. And a big part of that, because I can talk about from where I am today, is I would have gone all in my 20s. I had no responsibilities other than myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I would have gone for it. But isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? Because I sit here now and go, yeah, I would definitely go for it. I know what it's like to get to a point where you have your own business and you're enjoying it and it delivers and blah, 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 blah. And so therefore, I would be foolish not to do it. But then you say, maybe you're in your early 20s, Paul, oh, that's an interesting point. Because all of a sudden, there was very limited risk. And I had lots of energy. That's a big point. I had lots of energy. And I would have gone for it big time. I think at the time, and in fact, if I try and remember back that far, careers are really important. It was a time where you needed a good career. So it's easy from this side of the fence to say, yes, I'd go for it. Back then, it was like, I need a good career. But knowing what I know now, to answer your question, I absolutely would go for it. I'd have my own business. There were no responsibilities other to myself. And so I could afford to take some risks that I probably can't afford to take or couldn't afford to take when I started the business 15 odd years ago. So the answer to your question is yes, I would.
I'm just going to deal with this money spider. Now, what's really interesting, Paul, of course, is I said, with everything you know, if you're in your 20s today, what would you do? And that's a very different question in so many ways to if with everything you know, if you could go back to your 20s, would you start again? Because we live in a really different world, a different place. Everything is different for and we could go on. There's so many reasons. Apart from the money spider, I can now see things clicking on my screen. So I thought I'd get rid of that as well. I need to focus. Lots of the world is different. I think when I look at our young people of today, I think they feel differently. It seems that we have those that will absolutely risk everything, happy to give up everything, but equally they might be living at home, so it's a bit easier. I don't know about you. When I was in my 20s, I didn't live at home.
No.
So everything feels different. Does that make it easier? I don't believe it does. I think in many ways it's probably harder to start a business now than it was in the early days. And of course, we're looking at it with that fabulous thing called hindsight, because we've done it, we've lived it, and here we are. And equally, we're looking at it through the lens of a maturer person, shall I put it that way?
Nicely put.
But the reason I wanted to touch on it, so I started to work with the most incredible man, my first international client. He was just kind and gentle, and we did the strategy call, and you can probably tell by some of the words that I'm using and the tense that I'm using where this is going. But we had this amazing strategy call and worked out what he wanted to do and what he wanted his business to be like and the difference he wanted to make, and he'd shared his story and his journey with me. And then we were looking at what would that mean? What could he do more of? More trips to Vegas. What would it look like? And then really suddenly last week he passed away at 76. And that's a man who's had a career. That's a man who's had very successful careers. That's a man who did Toastmasters and was always out and speaking and wanted to make a real difference to business owners. And we'd really honed that and defined that. And that's gone. There is no tomorrow for him, really sadly. And it was a bit of a wake-up call. And to start with, when I heard, I just felt this terrible sense of, it just felt like I'd lost someone really close to me. And obviously, I only know him through the screen, but I think that gives you an idea of what an incredible man he was. So it left me thinking, what is it I want to do? Because I'm not sure how many tomorrows I've got. And we talk about our age, and just to give it some context, I hope I'm here for many tomorrows. I'm 58 and I've got a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, having had them very late in life. So I need to be around for a lot longer. But it does make you think differently about your business. So I'm doing a lot of my planning right now. And I think, Paul, there's a part of me that's going, yeah, I'm not going to do that, not going to do that. Yeah, that's really time consuming. Unless I can, make it smoother, easier, unless I can capitalize on the pieces of content that I'm creating, I think I'm just going to draw back because I really want to be working with more people. That said, I want to ensure that the business model enables me to do more of what I love with those that I love. So I feel that maybe it's easier for us being at the other scale of age because we recognize that life can be short. But then maybe that's the same as a young person in their 20s who's got no responsibility and goes, I'm going to do this anyway.
I think
thoughts.
You make a great point, of course. And if I think about it, I keep coming back to why is it we go into business? And I'm not talking about what we do, because there's lots of things that people can do. I'm talking about why we go into business. Why do we go into business? If you want to be a coach, why don't you go and work for a company that requires coaches rather than set up your own business? So to me, there's a big part of why we do what we do. And you've just said something that is surely a big part of why you do what you do. And you say, I love to work with the people I want to work with. You didn't just say, I like to have a few clients, and as long as I understand them, we're all good. You love to work with people that you want to work with. That has to be a big part of the success. Because if you don't work with anyone you like to work with, you're not succeeding.
Not really.
Better comment?
Terrible.
But to work with people you love to work with, that's not an end result. That's not a finality. That's part of a journey. That's enjoying the day to day. That's ensuring that you love what you do. That's ensuring that the benefit of being your own boss delivers on what you want it to deliver on. That isn't a destination. Now, for a 20 something, it is similar. The difference is it tends to be a destination in the first instance. I want to have a business because I would like to be wealthy and enjoy an easy life when I'm older, but whatever it might be. Now, I'm not going to do 20-year-olds a disservice. I don't believe it's all about that. But I believe when you're in your 20s, you have a vision for a future, a point for a future. When you're our age, you want to make sure that what success looks like for you delivers on a daily basis. Because as you quite rightly point out, it's an unknown. It's an unknown for anyone how long you've got, but it's an unknown. The challenge with people our age, he says, trying not to use the word challenge, is it feels a little bit closer. It probably is. In a lot of cases. It feels a little bit close. When you're in your 20s, I can remember in my 20s, someone said to me, "Oh, Paul, you need a pension." What do I need a pension for? I've got years to go. And lo and behold, having got a pension, I think, thank goodness for that.
And I bet you wish you'd started it sooner, although I certainly do. Yeah.
Yeah, always.
I wonder also, and this is because we're talking about, someone who's in their 20s in this world that we live now. I think there's also this opportunity that if you've got a brilliant idea, you can go for it. If you've got a brilliant idea, someone will help fund it. If you've got a brilliant idea, there's so many resources out there that people will help you. You don't even, and when I say resources, I'm not talking people about just, Googling it and hoping that a YouTube video will come up, how to start a business and deliver a great idea. These are, genuinely great people out there that are there to help you through this journey, to bring your incredible idea or invention to fruition. And I think that's amazing. And that's what sees these young people. While I think there is a need or a want or a desire because they want more money, because, Paul, you've got boys. Their taste in clothes is just on another scale. So, they want to have more money so they can have more things. And I don't think there's anything wrong at all with wanting more money, because that doesn't make you a bad person unless you were horrible in the first place. So I think there's this opportunity for young people to bring it. And you're absolutely right. It's part of the journey, because they can take an idea to fruition and go, that was a bit boring, sell it on and start another one. Or they can take a great idea to fruition and go, oh, do you know what? I don't think I like that anymore, and dump it and start another one, because their whole lives are ahead. And I would say, yes, go for it. Have as many. This was a great idea. This wasn't. Where did it go? Make 3 million, move on, have a failing business, and then do 10 million, whatever. Because you can when you're that age, and your responsibilities are not the same. So I just say, grab it if that's your boat. And if it's not, if going to work 9 to 5 and feeling security in that, and I say feeling because there are no guarantees in this world, if having a job and that security is what you need, go for that, because there's no right or wrong, and we need something of everything in this world.
But all that you're saying and that we're discussing really does tie back to a central point, and that central point is, why do you do what you do, and does it deliver on what you're looking for? For some people, that's lots of money. For some people, it's a more flexible life, being a business owner. For others, it's being able to get up every day and go, I can't believe I do what I do and I get paid for it. That's a very different perspective than I get up in the morning, oh, I've made an extra £1 million overnight with my investments. That's perfectly okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that you can get up in the morning and go, I absolutely love what I do, and I get to do it every day, and people want to give me money for that.
And people could actually be making money from their investments every day and still getting fun from that. I think we should.
Of course.
Plenty of people out there doing that.
Not at all.
You're absolutely right. It needs to give you that sense of purpose. And I think for younger people, their purpose can change. For younger people, their purpose absolutely will change as time goes on, as they develop and as they grow and as they become. I mean, I think it's safe to say that, a person in their 20s is still not an adult, is still learning. And, so there's lots to learn and lots to develop, and it's all part of that journey. And it's a real challenge there, isn't it? Because there's a part of me that also wants to say, if you don't have any responsibilities, if the kids have gone through and out the other side and have left the nest, equally you could go for it. Equally, you could try this, try that, and see what happens. As long as you always come back to what's making me happy. And I think that's part of the challenge, Paul, is that we are being fed information, and we've definitely talked about this, that says, you've got to have 6 figures. You've got to have the flash 2-seater car that I probably couldn't get in anymore, and you've got to have the big flash house and the clothes, and you've got to be on the red carpet and all those things. And actually, for most of us, they're not important.
You're right. And I also would add to that, I think what's important changes over time.
Yes.
I think and that's why I quite like your comment about, in your 20s, succeed, fail, whatever happens, go for it. Because either one is a great learning experience, whatever the outcome is. But I think as you grow older, and this, I think this is an important point, because what we don't want to do is give the impression that if you're going to start a business, if you don't do it in your 20s, you're going to really struggle. That's not the case, right? Yeah. But our priorities differ. I think they differ as we get older. And therefore, we need to develop an approach that sits within the boundaries that allow us to be who we want to be. Yeah. And actually, I think that's probably the key. I know you talk a lot about this, but that's probably a key point for me. As you move out of those carefree 20s into a time when you may want to start looking at getting married or have a family. People do it at different times, and there's no particular right time. But you start having other things that are a priority in your life. And therefore your business or your desires for business have to fit.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I didn't start my business till I was in my 40s, and I had 2 small children. Crazy idea that was. But I think the one thing we need to in what sort of age were you, Paul, when you started your business, and what responsibilities did you have?
Oh, I was, let me think about this. I would have been 42.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had 4 kids.
Okay.
So I still got 4 kids, by the way.
You were a little bit younger and had 4 children. Oh, I was a little bit older and had 2. So we've just proved that actually you can start a business anytime you like and with any responsibilities. But those responsibilities, that environment that you live within, they're the boundaries really that help you set the business up. They are the boundaries that should help you make really strong decisions about your business. And they are often what will allow you to risk or not risk. So in your 20s, you might risk more. It's unlikely you and I would risk the roof over our head. Although, I'd only put 2 children out on the street. You'd put 4. Very selfish.
They're all grown up now. I haven't got to worry about any of them, so I could.
Yeah, so mine are not. Mine are still there. So it's really interesting, isn't it, that you and I both started our businesses in our 40s and both had responsibilities. Yet we're saying it's easier, other times when you don't have. So that just proves that there is no perfect time. There is only your time. So let me ask you another question then. So what made you start your business? So what was it that you went, I know, I'll start a business because that'll be great.
You see, I have a theory. There's an equation involved in all of this. It's not complex before you get...
Oh, thank goodness, because I'm not good with math, and you mentioned equations.
It's not algebra. We're not getting onto algebra.
Excellent.
You see, I think when you sit down, and I include myself in this journey, you sit down and go, I've got an idea, and it's really ticking my box. And I'm trying to make it very general when I say that, because it could be anything.
Yeah.
Mine happened to be coaching, right? But I sat down, again, I'm making it sound very general, and gone, really, really would like to do this coaching thing. I'm absolutely sure it's good for me. I've done it for a number of years now in my job, blah, blah, blah. But I need to sit down and work out what's that going to look like. So if success, if we just have the word success, for me, whatever success is, and for me, that's things like loving what I do. Loving working with the people that I do, meeting new people, all of that is success for me. It isn't about having 7 figures in the bank. as nice as that would be, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's wrong to have that as something you're excited about. It's just not me, right? So as long as I'm making the living I would like to make, it's all good. But I think it's really important. I think it's important to understand the equation has to be the commitment I can make plus the boundaries I have equals the success that I can achieve.
Yeah.
And I think that's really critical, because if you simply say, oh, well, it's just the commitment I make equals the success, that's not true.
No.
If it is true, you're at all sorts of risk. The same way as if it's just boundaries equal my success, you'll never do anything.
Yeah.
You'll never take any action. So I think it's really important that we recognize that as much as we sit down, and I'm a big fan to go, if you feel that urge, if you start to feel that urge that you want to do a business or you've got a really good idea, just sit on it. And I understand we need to take action, but hear me out on this. Sit on it for a few days. Just make sure you're still as excited as you were on the Friday, the following Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, however many days you use. But just sit on it. Allow it to sit with you first. There is no reason not to take action once you've allowed that to sit with you for a bit. And then bear in mind that equation. You can throw yourself into this, but you have a commitment. If you want to have some success, you do need to take action. There's no shortcut for that. Consistent action is necessary, but it has to be done within the scope of your boundaries. So as you quite rightly pointed out, at 43 when I started this, it was more a case of, well, I've got 4 children, so I can't possibly consider putting my house up as collateral for a loan. I didn't need one, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And their boundaries, same way as you can't not spend time with your kids at the weekend or even attend school sports days, their boundaries. If you get the 2 bits right, one side of the equation, the other side that equals success is a lot closer.
It's really interesting as well. So, we've always said this is his and hers. So there's a part of me that's like, oh, I wish I knew you right at the beginning, because I would have been intrigued to know, because obviously being the female in this side of the equation. So yes, I had an idea for a business. Everyone said I could make it work because I knew loads of business people. I worked with business people. It was fine. And it wasn't exactly coaching at that point. And I was waiting to get made redundant, so that was quite nice. I knew that there'd be some money in the bank. But I was always the main breadwinner. I'm still the main breadwinner or breadwinner. And so I almost feel like I had the pressure of the male in the relationship who is, I'm going to start a new business, and don't worry, dear, it'll all be fine. But then I was actually the female in it, going, I'm going to start a new business, dear, it'll all be fine. Oh, and I've got to raise 2 humans and get them to school when you are working and all the other things. And, I feel like I had both sides of that equation going. I mean, in hindsight, I was nuts to have done it at that time. I don't know what I was thinking.
I mean, I don't know. Hindsight would say you probably did a really, really good decision. However, you're absolutely right. In your situation, you wore both hats. You were the main breadwinner, and you also bring up 2 wonderful children. So I think that
the wonderful children is out. The jury is still out.
I'm not making those comments. But so you did take it on. But that, to me, that's even more compelling to understand where your boundaries are. The bigger the commitment, the bigger the understanding of boundaries needs to be.
And what's really interesting, Paul, is I had no boundaries at the beginning. I had no boundaries. I wouldn't have known what a boundary was. And it's why you and it's why I bang on about them all the time. And we talk about them, boundaries in a whole host of different ways on this podcast, because we know how important them. And I absolutely did, because I had no boundaries at the beginning. And I was trying to run a business around 2 children. And I was working till 2-3 every morning and constantly shouting at everybody, constantly going, well, I've got to make this business work. And it was just horrible. I was absolutely horrible. And it was just one day when I remember trying to, it was in the kitchen, and I just had my laptop here, 2 little ones, and I was trying to make them something to eat. And all I did was yell at them. And I just went, whoa. This isn't working. This is not working. And the one boundary I put in place was saying from 3 o'clock when I picked them up, I wouldn't turn my computer on again until after they'd gone to bed. then I would go back to work. Now, it still wasn't a great boundary because I was still working, and now I was probably working even longer into the night, but it meant that I wasn't shouting.
Yeah. It sounds like very much like you were beginning to evolve your boundaries.
Yeah.
I think if you were working to 3, 4 in the morning every day, we wouldn't be doing our podcast. So I do hear, I'm listening to you going, this is someone, as much as you didn't recognize boundaries when you started, you began to recognize where they needed to be, albeit what you went through the trial and tribulations of getting there. You did recognize that. You did get to that point. The bigger concern is when someone doesn't get to that point or doesn't have that realization.
And I think there is a challenge generally for, and you and I have touched on this before. If you are a woman who is deciding to give up their job so that you can have greater flexibility around your family, I would seriously think again. Seriously consider what that could look like. And if nothing else, just go, do you know what? I can give 2 mornings a week to this business. So therefore, what kind of business? What does it look like? And what's it going to look like? Because it might be that your first 5-figure year might not come for some time. Your first 6-figure year may not come for a lot longer because you only have so much time to give your business. And the one thing you will regret is not spending time with your family.
And that's back to that equation, isn't it? If you put boundaries in place with the commitment you want to put in, it will help you understand what success will look like.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. And it's not wrong. If you want to start a business, but you've only got weekends, all I'm going to do is work the weekends because I have a full-time job, then the equation will work for you as well. It will define what success looks like. Just 2 days a week. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do want people to understand that we're not saying for 1 minute, if you don't go all out in your 20s, you're not going to make it. Far, far from it. What we are saying is actually at any age, it's possible to succeed. But our caveat in that is this idea that putting boundaries in place will make that successful a whole lot more pleasant.
Yeah, it will. I think what's really interesting as well, I've met recently met a number of women who have started businesses, and in part because they wanted to be there for their families. And they're quite realistic about some days are nothing like that they imagined. But they've got the boundaries. They've started it with I only work this many hours. I work with this number of clients. I don't want to do any more work. Actually, my money in this house is the play money. This is what we do. These are the holidays I plan. That's what I'm responsible for. So I'm meeting more women actually that are have greater boundaries and are clearer on what success looks like for them, and are also saying, for now, that's what this is going to be. That's okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's the biggest learning lesson you could have when you first kick off at whatever age. If that equation is imbalanced at any point, if you think a commitment of 2 days a week plus boundaries in place for family is going to equal $1 million in the first year, it ain't going to happen.
No,
so
you're absolutely right.
The equation needs to be balanced. And for a lot of people, that's okay. There wasn't long ago, 5-10 years ago, when the big phrase, well, you know what, you can't have a safety net. There's no option B. You've got to go for it. And if you go for it, you'll succeed. Those days thankfully are so over, where you can now sit there and go, so what do I really want? People make an assumption that you're going to go into business because you want a 6-7-figure, 8-figure business, whatever it is. That is not the case. In fact, that is not the case for the majority.
Yeah.
And I can't stress enough, if you look at statistics show people in their 50s are the biggest demographic for starting new businesses. And the people are doing it. Baby boomers are doing it as they retire now because they've got the capacity, they've got the health, they've got a smaller amount of financial benefit because they've worked hard over the years. So they're able to sit there and go, I don't really want to do more than 2, maybe 3 days a week. So what does that look like for me? Great question.
I think what's really smart about all of this, if you only have 2 days or only want to work 3 days, you will use that time far better than someone who's got 5. And I know that from experience. I used to come at the end of it and go, oh, what on earth have I done? Absolutely no idea. And I used to say, if you give me 24 hours, I will absolutely fill it, but I will not have done the priorities.
Yeah.
So when we have, I love a client that says, I want to earn the same, but I only want to work 4 days a week. Brilliant. Right. Let's get rid of that day. What can we do? Let's make sure we use this time. Give time purpose. Be really creative.
Yeah.
Focus on what's really important. If X brings in the business, do more of X. If A, B, and C is just nice to have, but actually does nothing for your business, get rid of it. It really focuses the mind when you have a limited number of hours to work in the business.
Always. And we're back to that boundaries thing, aren't we?
Yeah.
I think it's refreshing to be able to know that you're only going to put X number of hours into your business a week. I think it's super refreshing because you're no longer sitting there going, well, and we don't do this consciously, by the way, we do it subconsciously. We see it as a big black hole. We don't know where it ends. We don't know where our time ends. We don't know if we're going to do 20 hours this week, 100 hours this week. So it becomes this big black hole of time. Yet as soon as you put some structure in place that sits around boundaries, you go, great. So if I'm going to go and meet my mates down the pub on a Friday evening, I can do that because I stop at 5 p.m. on a Friday, whatever it might be. But it's the oddest paradox, isn't it? Because people see boundaries as restrictive, and actually what they are is the most freeing, liberating thing you can do.
They are, and I do sometimes see this at the beginning of people's journey, and it's not often I get to work with people at the beginning of their journey. It just so happens I am. I think I've got at least 2 clients there at the beginning, one fledgling, probably 2-3 years. But the ones that just started out, I'm like, oh, and they were saying, I did this, and I worked till 8 o'clock. Why did you work till 8 o'clock? You haven't got a business that requires you to work till 8 o'clock. Do not work till 8 o'clock. So it's about making sure as well, because it's that, but I love what I do. Yeah, we all love what we do. It doesn't mean to say we have to be doing it 24 hours a day. And actually, loving what we do is awesome, but that business that we love has to be the thing that creates more time, more freedom to live a life that we want to live, to experience more, to live life fully. Because to bring us back to where we started, we only get one life. Yeah. We only get one go at this, and time is really precious, and we don't know how much we have.
We don't. And I think, just as you say, looping around to the start, I think what we're saying here is, of course, at any point in life, if you want to do something, go for it. But be mindful. Be mindful. As you said before, Lindsey, just do it. Take the action. Just do it. Take the steps. I agree wholeheartedly. Keep in mind how you're going to live that life, because you just made a point about a client saying, well, I love what I do. I can promise you, if it gets stressful, if you're exhausted, if it's not doing what it needs to do, you'll stop loving that.
Absolutely.
100%. So I'm all for it. Like I said, I'm all for boundaries. I think they're critical. I think it makes, quite often, if you talk to someone who's been in business a long time, who's been particularly successful. I've got several friends, one in particular who's 10 years older than me. He's now retired, and he was very successful. I'm not talking about millions successful, but he was successful in business. Yeah. And he will often tell you stories about the times, the places, the things he did, never about how much money he made. Mm. And I think that's so critical, that you can look back and go, the things I did, the people I met, the times I had, they're part of the success. If we ignore those, it stops being something we enjoy to do.
We've never done it really. We should talk about, and it's a bit boring. I know people, it's a bit boring, but KPIs and metrics and how you measure success. Because for me, I am driven by numbers, but I'm driven by numbers because they're easy to monitor. They help me see that I'm moving in the right direction. They help me see what is working, what's not working. But that's as far, that's why I love the numbers, because you're absolutely right. Just like your friend, he wants to talk about the people, the people that he met, the things that he did, because that's what success is. Yeah. It's about the people. It's about the change. It's about what we can achieve for others with others. It's the difference that we make. It's about having a really great day, no matter what the weather, and going, Yeah, do you know what? Today was a really good day and I did X, Y, and Z. Today was a really great day because I got to do a podcast with Paul. Today was a really great day for whatever reason. And that's
And
not to do with money.
yeah, and that's the commitment part, right? So make the commitment. Commitment means taking action. Commitment means checking your numbers. Commitment means looking at what's working, what isn't. How do you measure that? Right? It's one thing to sit there. If you say to someone, so tell me, does your marketing work? It's a tough question to answer unless you've got some measure in place that you can quantify. Marketing is always the one I ask because marketing is always the hardest to quantify, right? What you invest in, does that return give you a return? It's like really difficult, but it's the right question to ask. It's someone to think about how do you measure your progress? Commitment's part of progress. And you need to be able to measure that. If you don't measure that, you don't know. And so all of a sudden, that equation falls apart. Commitment, and you don't know what you're committing to, can't possibly work with boundaries, and it certainly won't lead to success. So you are right, but it's that balance, isn't it? It's recognizing if you've got the boundaries in place, now we can look at numbers. We can look at what you're going to do. How is that going to work for you? Can you review that and decide if it is working for you?
Yeah. I love the reviewing bit. Reflect, review. If you are watching this at the end of a quarter, reflect and review. If you're watching this at the end of a month, reflect and review. If you're watching this at the end of a year, reflect and review. Because that is so valuable. And I think it's the piece so many business owners, they overlook. Oh yeah, I know what happened. Sit down and really look.
Yeah,
Because there is gold in that always.
Always. You know, I've got a coaching friend of mine, and his classic question is, do you know your numbers? And it's like, to most people, that's I'm not sure. Well, then you don't. And it can sound really harsh. But the reality is, it's back to that boundary paradox that goes, when you know your numbers, how freeing is that? Because you can decide then, I'm going to drop that, or I'm going to do more of that.
Yeah. Women particularly don't like numbers. They're really frightened of them. We should do that as an episode as well, because that's really interesting how women find it more difficult to talk about numbers and talk about money. So if you asked a woman, so do you know numbers? Unless, and I have gotten a client who is a bookkeeper, she knows her numbers.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, she definitely knows her numbers. I mean, she has the most incredible spreadsheets I have ever seen in my life. But for many, they don't know the numbers.
No, it's a big ask. It's a big ask, and I think it's important. So, Lindsey, we've spoken at length on this, and we've loved every minute as usual. It feels like it's gone in 10 minutes, and it's been longer than 10 minutes, sadly. And I'm sure one day when someone turns around and says the average length of a podcast episode should be 3.5 hours, we can do that too.
Absolutely, we'd so be on that. And I'm very excited. I've got pen in hand because I think there's a couple of episodes or some ideas for some episodes that have come to me while we've been chatting today, because it has been a really great conversation for all the right reasons. Yeah.
On that note, we shall bid you goodbye and catch up next time. Thanks. Lindsey.